Hi. I mean, the elephant in the room is that this is super weird. But to introduce myself, I'm Izzy Miller, the previous coordinator. I have no idea who you are, so again, this is very strange. But it's great to meet you, or it's great to be met by you. You're in an awesome position. I was in the role for 1 year and 9 months, and it's amazing. It's a jack of all trades role. You have the best manager. Meg is incredible. And you couldn't ask for a better team. It's small, but we have the best people, so congratulations. Now, it's very difficult to know where to start because in this role, we're pretty much a jack of all trades, as you'll have seen from the job description. But I'm going to run through some of the things that I have been focusing on that potentially the others won't necessarily know how to do. But I'm going to give you as much advice and as much of a heads up about things as possible, but things change all the time in London, and what my 2 years have looked like is not going to be the same as what your years will look like. So I have no idea what kind of a background you have, but I'm gonna just assume that you are not from a students' union, so you have no idea about rep structures or anything. So if you do, I apologise. Every students' union has a representation structure whereby students will be elected into roles where they gather feedback and work on the behalf of the student body with the aim of creating positive change and just improving the student experience as much as possible. AU London Students' Union has been around for almost 4 years now, and we've struggled to grow due to funding and having such a small team. So we started off by having course reps. This is where any student could nominate themselves to be the representative of their class. Now, the issue with this is that there aren't necessarily classes, there are cohorts. And cohorts can sometimes shift. Plus, through MSL, which is the website platform that we use for our elections and our website in general, we weren't given the data as to who was in which cohort. So this made it really difficult to know how many reps we were electing into each cohort. So we would just do a big election, and yeah, maybe there would be 3 course reps in one class and none in multiple others. So it really wasn't a great system, but it was what we started with. As the primary person responsible for the rep structure and reps in general, I saw so many flaws with this, and even through creating a few little shifts, I thought that it can be improved. So over the summer of the pandemic, I decided to create a whole restructure, which was approved in September, so we didn't have long to plan for it. So hopefully the September that you come in and the September that you're working on this, you'll have it so much more slick. So essentially the issues with the previous structure was that, well, as you know, there could be multiple individuals elected into one class. But more than that, you could be a course rep for 2 years and see no progression, and then go and be the vice president and have never been a leader before, because as a course rep, you're not a leader, you just get feedback and you take it to SLC, Student Staff Liaison Committee, and that's about it. So we needed to create something in between, and I'll send around the rep restructure report so you can see exactly why we made this decision. But what we did is we removed course reps completely, and we brought in class reps and course champions. So the goal with class reps is that every single class will have a class rep, no more than one, and probably there are always some classes without a rep, but we do our best. And with you, and hopefully the more funding that we'll have when you join, this will hopefully make it even more possible. So the class reps collect the feedback from the class and take it to their course champion. And there is one course champion for every single course, and there is one for all of the postgrads because it's such a small group. So class reps no longer go to SLCs, they'll just collect the feedback and bring it to their course champion, and then the course champion will take the feedback to the SLC. Because in the past, this was also a reason for the restructure, because in the past, staff would complain that there were too many class reps attending SLCs. We couldn't get around the whole room, it was manic. And a lot of them misbehaved. No matter how much we trained them, there were too many of them for us to speak to personally before the meeting, and there were too many for such a formal meeting. So they no longer go, and the course champions, who we give a longer training to when they get elected, and really give a briefing on SLCs right before it and handhold, because it may be their first leadership position throughout the year, and we're able to support them to a much higher extent. So instead of going to the SSLCs, we do advise that class reps bring their feedback to the course champion as and when they get it. But we also encourage the course champions to set up something called a pre-SSLC meeting the week before the SSLC. This means that all of the class reps who are able to attend can come along to that meeting, share their feedback and discuss with the course champion. Because it's one thing to just send over a text, a screenshot of a text you got from a student who's giving you feedback, and it's another to actually discuss it. The course champion and the class rep, they're there to facilitate, but when we bring them together, it's great to have conversations. So it's not just feedback, but it's feedback with a suggestion of a positive outcome. So the course champion is prepared when they go into that room and have that SSLC meeting. This also means that, evidently, going from class rep to course champion, you'll then have a build up to being a vice president. Or you might not have been a class rep to start with, you might just go straight in and be a vice president, which actually a lot of our course champs in the previous year have been. So it's a great build up to that role. You get to meet the students' union and really understand how the structure works, what's expected of you. You get up close and personal with the vice president themselves so you can see what they do, what you like and what you don't like about what they do, and really make a name for yourself before you run for the role. So that's everything pretty much on the RAP structure. Hopefully you can see why we changed it from course champs. And I'm really excited to see from afar how it goes in September and October. However, hopefully it will all be in person and this will be completely different. Part 2 of RAP structure and what I want to talk to you about, and is potentially very heavy stuff and maybe difficult to understand, is our process of electing them. In the past, we did use MSL and the website, electing them through there. However, being a students' union, you have to make a decision between 2 choices. 1, do you want to build traction to the students' union and make students really know where you are, what you do, where your website is, how to use it, and who you are, and really draw attention to yourself so that they can then in turn get the opportunities and experiences that you provide? Or 2, do you recognise where the students are and go to them and make it easier for them? Now, I'm not saying either is the right answer, and you'll probably have your own opinions. For instance, in Loughborough, which is where I went to uni, hence why I was so excited about students' unions, because they're one of the best. They do very much draw the students to them because they have a nightclub, they have everything. You know, you could technically not leave campus because of how much they have. So in that sense, they know that students are going to come along. There's already a students' union name on campus. It's known that that's where you go and what they do. So they don't need, they obviously, they do try to be student facing and do a lot of outreach, but that's very different. Whereas at AOU London, a lot of people don't know what students' union is, and especially seeing as a lot of our students are international, even the lecturers as well, they view the term union as something aggressive, something standing against the university rather than in partnership with them. And they don't really understand what we do because, like I said, we're quite new. So, that being said, they don't necessarily know where our website is, and more than that, our students aren't very techie. They don't know, some of them don't even know how to use a printer. So we realised that actually trying to get students to come to our website to vote, to do the login details that they only have to do 3 times a year or 2 times a year to vote, is really unfair and really disengaging. It isolates those who don't understand the website, aren't techie, don't really understand who we are and what we do. So the question for us is, well, why are we purposely disengaging them? What we want is votes. We want to be as democratic as possible, and we're not achieving that if you're doing this through our website. So we thought, well, okay, the university, they have a platform, and students are logging into that every single day that they have lectures. They have to know their password, they have to know their login, they have to know their way around, because that's what they're using all the time. So we started working with the LRC, the Learning Resource Centre, headed up by Ike. Brilliant guy. I do have a list of 10 tips I'm going to tell you. I think it's 10, maybe it's more. And one of them is to get to know Ike, like, really well. So we'll talk about that later. But it's called the VLE, so does that stand for something? Probably does, I can't remember. And that's where they access the Zoom link to all of their lectures, that's where they get their news, that's where they get their timetable, everything's there. So we set up a student union box, and which is almost like a bridge between their website and our website. So we did everything through their system. It wasn't the easiest process, and it was probably the same, if not more difficult than MSL, but it actually enabled us, through a lot of hard work and a lot of late nights, to set up groups. We managed to get the data as to which students were in which class, which cohort, and we managed to pull all that data from the spreadsheets. Me and Meg literally worked hours and days, like for a week of 10-hour days. Like, it was ridiculous. Well worth it, hopefully, because we managed to get a lot of students elected. But we drew all of that out, set up, I don't know how many groups there were, hundreds and hundreds of classes, so that students could see all of the students who were nominated in their class and vote. And then if they didn't see anyone, we said, this class doesn't have any nominees, but if you would like to be a class rep, please contact i.miller@anglicstudent.com. So it took a lot of work, but it was great to actually see that we could achieve that. And our turnout was incredible. It was way higher because we went to the students. At the end of the day, they are the customers, and you have to go to them. Eventually, one day, hopefully as a students' union, our branding will be out there, they'll know exactly who we are. Our partnership with the university will enable us to become more visible and students to be aware of us from day one. But we can't start there, we have to. This is a really great way of engaging our students through seeing that we need to go to them. And this is the same in the advice service and all of those. Oh, it's, I don't know when you're watching this, but we're currently, this is the week where it's been about 30 degrees every single day. So if I look sweaty, it's because I very much am. Okay, got my notes now for the rep election via the VLE, okay? I think I've done most of this. Now, what we're hoping is that this year, if the conversations with Ike start early, and you'll want to work with Meg on this as well, she's great with a spreadsheet. Maybe you are as well, but me and numbers, we don't go too well. So hopefully this year it'll be easier to set up the classes and we won't have to do it so manually. I'm not making any promises here, and it is well worth the really late nights doing it, but I'm hoping for your sake that that's not the case and we don't have to do that this year. Something just as a heads up, because as a timeline, in September, students arrive, October, and we start advertising the rep election. Now, both roles are elected in October, so class rep and course champ are elected in October. What this means is that you have to make this super clear what the difference is. So me personally, I don't know how many people would create a handover via video, but there's so much, and I thought you're gonna have loads to do. It's gonna be super boring doing, with the online training that you might have got from HR, and you could, look at it friendly face, hopefully helps. It's like having a conversation, right? And you can go back and rewatch stuff. I don't know if this helps, I hope it does. But the point of what I'm saying is that what I did was I filmed myself talking about the different roles. You can see this on YouTube. I think it says new rep structure or something like that. Meg can send it to you. We really pressed home, wanted to make it as clear as possible which were which, because we didn't want course champions being elected who were useless and had no idea what they were doing, what they'd signed up for. That said, because both, you could nominate yourself on the same form, so you tick, are you electing yourself for a class rep, course champion, or both? Actually, I can't remember I don't know what the stat is, but a lot of students nominated themselves for both. Whether it was the ease of it, whether they were still a bit unsure of which were which, or because they actually wanted to do both and they thought it would raise their chances, which I believe it's that one, we don't know. But having looked at the nominations, so when their manifesto, what they wrote to advertise themselves essentially, it does seem that they do know the difference between class rep and course champion. So it seems that our efforts to really distinguish to them the difference between the roles really had an impact, and it did work. So I would encourage you to focus on that, because our students can get easily confused and they need stuff really in really simple terms. So yes, you'll get used to it. So I believe that is everything. It's difficult for me to say much more on the rep structure because I don't know if it's going to be online. I don't know if you're going to be on campus. So much could change. But all I would say is just get really familiar with why the structure is like this, what the different roles do. You'll be able to watch the training, which, you know, will help you to understand what is expected of each role. And the clearer you have it, the clearer you can explain it to students. And then second of all, just having those early conversations with Ike and making sure that Meg knows exactly what's happening as well, because it's not a one-person job. And Ike will tell you what to do, but he can't do it for you. So yes, also getting to know the iCentre staff who have all of the data, because if you're on good terms with them and they know who you are, then it means you'll be able to get that data quicker. And if there are any issues with the data, they'll be able to resolve it for you. Now, I'm not going to tell you who currently does that job because the staff shift and replenish so quickly in AU London, so it probably won't be correct by the time you come on board. But yes, those are the few big tips I would say.